Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, March 27th. Ian Cameron with you solo today to break down the Wednesday card. Just two games on tap tonight, one of them being Boston, Tampa Bay on TNT. Looking forward to that. And thanks, first of all, we'll begin talking about last night. The betcast was amazing, as always. Lots of fun, great camaraderie, great, company kept, as always, with everyone that joined us last night during the betcast. Too many people to name. It was just a great turnout. We had a couple of new faces as well join us on the betcast last night as well. Jordan, Sam G from over in France, I think he said, is where he was joining us from last night during the betcast. So it was absolutely outstanding. And it's always, like I said, just a ton of fun to be able to do that betcast repeatedly. I mean, we do a bunch of them throughout the season. That was the one free for all public betcast in the month of March. So great turnout. We appreciate everyone joining us for it. And again, we're going to really start to ramp up the frequency and the volume of these live betcasts in the month of April as we come down the stretch of the regular season and enter the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. And we're definitely looking forward to that. So shout out to everyone that joined us in the betcast. Even Matt from despite Matt Robinson being in San Jose for the Stars-Sharks game, checked in a couple of times. So it was great last night being on the betcast, and great results down the stretch of the betcast too. We had some incredible results. We'll incorporate that in our recap of last night's action. It was one of the craziest, most exciting nights of NHL hockey I've seen in a long, long time, with just so many games that came down to the wire, so many games that had important playoff implications, important points at stake on the line, and to see most of the games deliver the goods in thrilling fashion. It was just one heck of a night, especially the slate that the 7 p.m. Eastern games rolled into the incredible finish and comeback by the Nashville Predators last night. I mean, where to begin? Detroit, Washington, terrific hockey game. It was back and forth all night. Capitals took the lead. Red Wings responded, regained the lead. Washington took the lead again. Detroit tied at 3-3 late in the third with Patrick Kane's goal. And then in overtime, the Washington Capitals on a Dylan Strome overtime winner get a 4-3 win over the Detroit Red Wings. Alex and I were both on the draw in that game, so it was good to see that cash. It was just a great hockey game. It lived up. Two teams needing the points, trying to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and the Washington Capitals end up victorious 4-3 over the Red Wings there in that game. What a crazy game the Flyers and the Rangers turned out to be. Absolutely insane. And look, it started out pretty slow. Let's not forget that game was scoreless after the first period. It was a slow start to the game. And even after the second period, Flyers took a 2-1 lead. It wasn't the best first 40 minutes for the Rangers. They did have a lot of chances in the first period, but they did not bury any of them. And Flyers have the 2-1 lead, and it looked like the Flyers might be one of those nights where they're going to be able to just shut it down and ride a victory here against a Rangers team, maybe having a little bit of a emotional hangover, if you will, after two big wins against Boston and Florida. And then that third period happened, and it was just an explosion of goals, crazy back and forth action. 4-3 Rangers in the third period alone, 7 third period goals in that game. Absolutely crazy. It ends up going overtime 5-5. Thankfully, the Flyers tied it when they were down 5-4 to rescue the draw, which I had a piece of last night. I did have also the Flyers, but they fall in overtime. Rangers get a 6-5 win. That's one of those wins for the Rangers that I give them even I'm extra impressed by them winning that game, given the spot that they were off big games against Boston and Florida, could have easily fallen flat and not responded after the Flyers got down 2-1. But every time the Flyers scored, Rangers answered. That was given the dubious spot I think they were in, at least in my opinion, they were in a tougher spot last night. I give the Rangers a lot of credit for getting that 6-5 overtime win. Let's give Pittsburgh credit. They don't win many games as of late, but they beat Carolina 4-1. Look like Carolina, and I'm concerned about the schedule. It's caught up with them. That was last night their It was just insane how many games they've played, but it was 6 and 9 nights. It was 7 and 11 nights for the Carolina Hurricanes last night, and it just didn't look like they had that extra gear against Pittsburgh, and they ended up losing that game by a score of 4-1 to the Penguins in that one. New Jersey, Toronto, it was just, if you're a Leaf fan, you're frustrated. I mean, he dominated as far as shots, as far as chances, but Jake Allen was outstanding. And unfortunately, because you were so, you were not burying your chances, you ended up kind of cheating for extra offense, pinching at the blue line, taking chances, taking risks, knowing that if you turned over the puck, it was going to send New Jersey the other way as far as a counterattack. And those are the plays that really burned Toronto last night. Seems like every time they were pressing the Devils, and looks like they took a little risk, and someone jumped into the play, there go the Devils on an odd man rush the other way, and most times the Devils got one of those odd man rushes. It ended up in the back of their net. So it was just one of those games where the Leafs they were, I think, the better team, but better team doesn't always win. It was a great performance by Jake Allen, and the Devils were ultra opportunistic. Every odd man rush the Leafs gave up because they were cheating for offense, the Devils ended up making them pay, and they end up getting a 6-3 win over the Leafs last night in that game. The Leafs were a little bit shorthanded. I don't want to completely excuse that, but definitely I think when you look at the situation last night, Leafs are going to feel like, geez, how did we not get 2 points in that game? Bruins and Panthers was everything we hoped it would be, and then some. It had everything. It had great saves. It had great goals. It had animosity. It had multiple scrums and pushing and shoving and scrums after the whistle, a couple of fights. Those two teams just do not like each other, and I would not at all be against seeing those two teams lock up one more time in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. So just a phenomenal game, and what an incredible comeback by the Bruins, who were down 2-0 very early in this game to the Florida. Actually, they were down 1-0 in the first minute. They did tie it. They were down 3-2 in the third. Trent Frederick power play goal, and then a couple minutes after that, Pavel Zacha with the eventual game winner, and the Bruins erase a late 3-2 deficit to beat the Florida Panthers 4-3 last night. Great win for Boston. They responded to the hard practice that Jim Montgomery put them through, kind of read them the riot act, bag skated them as well on Monday afternoon, and they ended up having a great response in that victory, 4-3 over the Florida Panthers last night. We saw and next up is another great game, Edmonton-Winnipeg. It kind of flew under the radar given the other game that was taking place at that moment, what was going on there. But it was a great hockey game, Edmonton-Winnipeg. There's another game. There was a fight. It was a very intense game. Two desperate teams, two teams that were on losing streaks going into that game, the Oilers and Jets last night, and Edmonton prevails with a 4-3 overtime win against Winnipeg. Winnipeg was better, but not good enough to win. And Rick Bowness said in his return to the bench after the games that we still made a few too many mistakes with the puck, and bad line changes, just turnovers at bad places of the ice. And the Edmonton Oilers were able to make Winnipeg pay for those. So big win for the Oilers, and the Jets losing streak now moves to 4 straight without a win for the Jets with that loss last night. Just incredible scenes at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville last night. I mean, what more can you say? I honestly thought, especially when Vegas went up 3-0 after the first period, that, Nashville was in trouble. Nashville did make it 3-1, but then right at the end of the second, William Karlsson scores and makes it 4-1 Vegas. One of those killer, you would think it was at least at the time, one of those killer goals in the final minute of a period, one that restored Vegas's 3-goal lead, 4-1 in the final minute of that second period. And that's definitely when I thought, well, that's such a momentum killer. It's just such a downer for Nashville to give up that goal that it would be difficult for Nashville to come back in that hockey game. But sure enough, third period rolls around. They get a goal from Ryan O'Reilly at 5:52 into the third period. O'Reilly Auto Parts. He gets it done, makes it 4-2. And then, of course, in the last 10 minutes of the third period, that's when things got just absolutely crazy. Philip Forsberg scores to make it 4-3, cut the Vegas lead to just 1. A goal that ended up being reviewed, challenged for offside, a challenge Vegas would not win. The goal stood. It stayed 4-3 for Vegas. And Nashville gets a power play after that because of the fact the challenge failed. So, and Nashville wasted absolutely no time capitalizing with that power play opportunity. Gus Nyquist, 40 seconds later, ties the game. And then just an incredible dash to the net by Roman Josi in overtime to make it a 5-4 Nashville comeback win, down 4-1, come all the way back, win 5-4. That was the game of the night for me. That made the night from a betting standpoint because we had Nashville as my best bet on the show, comes back from the dead to win. We had the team total over 3.5 as well. And many of us, including me, jumped in live on Nashville. I had Nashville plus 500. I jumped in plus 500 on Nashville in game on the BetCast last night during the second period. I could have even gotten better than that if I had jumped in at 4-1 Vegas in the third, but I didn't. I stuck with the plus 500, but I did jump in on the draw at plus 900 in that game when Nashville scored to make it 4-2 early in the third period. The draw was plus 900 at that time, and it was just incredible to be able to hit the live bets on the Preds plus 500, the draw plus 900 on the BetCast, and see Nashville come all the way back to cash the original bet, the pregame bet, the best bet on the show yesterday for me with Nashville minus 138. Just crazy, and just a huge help to what was a profitable night for me. A large part of it thanks to that incredible comeback by Nashville. Now, what is it? 16-0-2 for the Nashville Predators now in their last 18 games as the consecutive game point streak reaches 18 straight for Nashville in one of the great comebacks of the entire season last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. They can't be stopped, and don't you dare tell me now that they can't maybe upset a team in the first round, or at least give that first round opponent everything they can handle and then some. Who is going to want at this point in time to play the Nashville Predators in a first round playoff series in the Western Conference? I don't think there's going to be many teams signing up for that right now. So just a ridiculous run right now for Nashville as they beat the Vegas Golden Knights 5-4. Chicago wins 3-1 against Calgary. Calgary looks like they're pretty good fade material right now. Chicago, I thought they were live in that game. Unfortunately, I had the over trifecta. We only get the first period over out of that as Calgary just had nothing going offensively. Chicago kind of tightened it up when they got the lead, but Chicago 3-1 over Calgary. One of the probably the upset of the night. Montreal goes into Denver and beats the Colorado Avalanche 2-1. Very impressive win by Montreal there. Colorado wasn't at their best, although in the third period they did press the issue. Third period they had some good chances, but Samuel Montembeault was very good, preserving the 2-1 win for the Canadians. Heck of an effort for them in the return behind the bench of their head coach, Marty St. Louis. So just a great game there by the Montreal Canadiens. And, finally the Avalanche paid the price for starting slow against a weaker opponent. They got away with it against Columbus. They got away with it against Pittsburgh. They did not get away with it last night against Montreal. They'll look to rebound tomorrow night when they take on the New York Rangers. That's definitely one of the highlight games coming up on the Thursday night slate. Rangers and Avs tomorrow night in Denver. It should be one heck of a hockey game there between those two teams. And then in the late night hours, we saw, of course, the couple of late night games there later. Let me just there we go. Anaheim, Seattle. There's not much to say. 4-0 Seattle. Seattle gets the shutout. Anaheim, pretty dismal performance to make a Seattle team that had been on that losing streak look like that. Tells you all you need to know about Anaheim. Arizona 6-2 against Columbus. That was a very good game for me. We had the full game over. We did lose the first period over, but we had the full game over, and we had Arizona team total over 3.5. They get 6 goals in the last 2 periods after being shut out in the first period. And the highlight, of course, is Josh Doan. What a night. Special. Fairy tale shit. Fairy tale stuff. Really was. That he plays for the Arizona Coyotes in his first NHL game with his dad in attendance, the whole family in attendance. His dad played his whole career there for that same franchise, and he gets to watch his kid, Josh Doan, in his first NHL game score not 1, but 2 goals in his NHL debut. That's crazy. You would think, it's just stuff that's fairy tale. It's not reality. It really couldn't happen in real life, something that special, something that amazing and awesome. And it did. Just absolutely terrific stuff. And then to see that they brought in Brought on Josh Doan on the Coyotes post-game show last night on TV, as well as Shane and the family. And it was just, it's wonderful. I mean, it's cool, really, really cool stuff. And it couldn't happen to a better family, because Shane Doan, people think the world of him as a human being, not just obviously what he did on the ice. So it was just really, really cool last night to see that. Josh, a lot of us had Josh Doan to score. I had plus 450 on it. Most people had at least some kind of price north of plus 400. So it was very, very impressive to see that take place, and the Coyotes get the win. Josh Doan, the spectacle, though, getting his first 2 NHL goals in his very first NHL game. And then the Matt Robinson Bowl. We hope he had a good time out there in San Jose. Certainly his Dallas Stars rewarded him with a very solid performance, 6-3. They were a little shaky defensively at times, but once they got that game to 5-3 after 2 periods, they put it on cruise control. They defended well in the third period. They got the only goal in the third period to make it a 6-3 victory. That game ended up going well, over by Fekta. Cashes. We cashed a bunch of Dallas props, Jamie Benn props, Wyatt Johnston props. They both had a heck of a night last night for the Dallas Stars in that victory. So credit to Dallas, 4-3 win. They got the job done. Workman-like, business-like effort. Don't screw around and give a bad team a chance to win. It was never really close down the stretch. That's what you want to see out of Dallas, them ramping their game up for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that was a solid victory last night against San Jose. And again, solid victory, a solid performance by Scott Wedgwood, who continues to play pretty well for the Dallas Stars in a backup role. His play lately, while let's say something were to happen to Jake Ottinger in the playoffs, he gets injured, can't come back, Scott Wedgwood's in net. I don't know if they can win the cup with Scott Wedgwood, but they could win games. They could win series in the playoffs with him. They could, because he's played well enough. They've got enough scoring as well to support their goaltending this year, the Dallas Stars. So, like I said, he's played pretty solid hockey of late for the Dallas Stars. So nice win there for Dallas in San Jose last night. All right, let's turn our attention to tonight. We've got 2 games on the Wednesday night slate. We will begin with the Ottawa Senators taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo minus 140. Home favorites in this game, 6.5 the total, shaded to the under here in this spot. Buffalo returns home off the road, a Western Canadian road trip coming to an end on Sunday night against the Calgary Flames with a 4-1 win. And actually, the road trip started last Saturday in Detroit. Then they went out west for the 4 games, which began in Seattle with the 6-2 win last week. And then they went to Vancouver and Edmonton. They lost those 2 games. The Vancouver game was competitive, 3-2. The Edmonton game was competitive for 2 periods. Sabres were tied 3-3 with the Oilers going into the third period of that game, and then the roof kind of fell in on them. 5 goals for the Oilers in the third period. And then, of course, after that, we saw the 4-1 win against Calgary to wrap up that road trip. We'll see how this game plays out tonight for them. But again, a little bit of a tricky spot given the fact they're off a 5-game road trip. The Malinsky Specials does say to bet on Ottawa here in this spot against the Buffalo Sabres. Ottawa's coming off back-to-back wins, and this is what Ottawa has the potential to do down the stretch, is cash some of these underdog tickets against teams that you would think are better, teams that need the points more. But Ottawa, I've said, they've dramatically underachieved. I think there's a better team on paper with this group than their record indicates. But the problem with Ottawa right now is, they've underachieved. They've had defensive issues. They've had goaltending issues. But lately, the goaltending, at least the last couple games, has been better. Their offense has sprung to life, scoring 5 in the back-to-back victories, each of those games against Edmonton and New Jersey, playing quite well. We'll see how this game plays out here. But certainly from a injury standpoint, there are a couple of notes that I want to point out here as far as this game goes tonight. For Buffalo, the return of come all without, come all within. You'll not see nothing like the mighty Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn is back tonight for the Buffalo Sabres after basically a 2-month absence. And this guy has been just snake bit with injuries. If he could just stay on the ice and avoid these moving forward, he is a great offensive player and a great scorer. He's got a great release, a great shot, and you just hope that this is going to be the end of the injuries for him, because he's such a talented player. He returns and he will play with Dylan Cousins and J.J. Peterka Paterka on the second line for the Sabres here tonight. Tuck, Thompson, and Greenway are going to be on the top line here tonight for the Sabres. So it's another experiment with Jordan Greenway on the top line right now for the Buffalo Sabres. For Ottawa in this game, Jonas Korpisalo will be in net for the Senators. It's likely going to be UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen here for the Buffalo Sabres, but that has not been confirmed as of yet. There are a couple bets I have pregame here. I'm on, based on the series history, 3 of the last 4 games have gone over the total, by the way, between these two teams, including each of the last 2 meetings in Buffalo between these two teams, where we saw 8 and 7 goals. Coming off the road trip, I could see some sloppy play here in this game. I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to go with the full game over 6.5. I'm not doing a trifecta or bifecta. I just feel, because the one thing about Ottawa Buffalo games, if you actually look back, there's been some of these games that have gone over. There's been very few goals early in the game, and it's actually been more of a landslide of goals in the second and the third period, of some of these recent head-to-head meetings between these teams. So I like the over 6.5 for the game. I'm actually going to jump on Ottawa here in the first period. Not for the game, just for the first period here. Ottawa money line in the first period. I think that first period for Buffalo, coming off the West Coast road trip, 5 games, 4 of them out west on the road, could be tricky for them. Ottawa, of course, with the little pep in their step following back-to-back wins. I do think that Ottawa first period could sneak out of there with the lead, and maybe we see Buffalo get better as the game goes on. This is an angle that worked for me very well with the Toronto Maple Leafs exactly 1 week ago tonight, last Wednesday. I really like Toronto in the first period against the Washington Capitals, and Buffalo is facing that same schedule tonight as Washington last week, where they're coming off that road trip here. So, like I said, Ottawa in the first period, I think, is a good situational look. I like over 6.5 in this game as well. And then there are some props here that do stand out. The ones you want to really focus on for Buffalo, Alex Tuck does have 7 points in the last 5 games, although 6 of them have been assists. So you could do Tuck point or assist, but anything with him. Tage Thompson starting to get going as well, which is good to see. It's obviously not been the season he expected or anyone expected of him, but he does have 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists in the last 5 games for Buffalo. And JJ Paterka, I'm going back to the well with him that's my favorite goal prop. Once again, is JJ Paterka here for Buffalo. 3 goals in the last 4 games for him. He's up on that second line now tonight with Cousins and with the returning Jack Quinn. I might even sprinkle on Jack Quinn as well in his return tonight in this game for the Buffalo Sabres. And then for Ottawa, going into this matchup tonight for props, Batherson, Pinto, Tkachuk on the top line. Any of those players, I think, worth a look. And I'll throw one out there because it looks like he's going to be in the lineup again tonight and up on the second line. He scored against New Jersey, by the way, a couple of games ago. Let's go with a little Angus Crookshank action here for the Ottawa Senators. That's right, Angus Crookshank playing with Timmy Stützle and Claude Giroux on the second line here for the Ottawa Senators. I think there's there's definitely value. And remember, this guy scored a couple of games ago for the Ottawa Senators against the New Jersey Devils. Stützle assist, yeah, he's been racking those up big time, no doubt about that. Yeah, a Stützle assist to Angus Crookshank, I would definitely like to see that. Maybe it's got a potential to happen because, again, those two are on the same line tonight for the Ottawa Senators. So definitely some good value here in this game with the Sens and the Sabres as far as props. In a game that I think we will see some offense in. Based on series history, like I said, 3 of the last 4 head-to-head meetings have gone over 6.5, and each of the last 2 head-to-head meetings here in Buffalo between the Senators and the Sabres have gone over 6.5 as well. All right, second game of this Wednesday card. This is the TNT national television game. Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay minus 115, home favorites, 6 being the total here in this game. Tampa Bay, they are also returning home from a pretty long road trip here against the I think it's just like with Buffalo. We talked about it. For Tampa, it's also a 5-game road trip. It started in Florida against the Panthers. Then they went out west for 4 of the last 5 games of that road trip against Vegas, San Jose, L.A., and Anaheim. They out west to end that road trip. It ended up going 3-1 on the West Coast portion of that trip, 4-1 on the road trip overall if you include the win against Florida. So a pretty good road trip. You're back home, though, now. This is also, long-term angle, the Malinsky special. It's in play on both of these games tonight. It says bet on Ottawa against Buffalo, and it says bet on Boston here against Tampa Bay. That being said, I like Ottawa early. I don't like them full game. This game, maybe Boston early. Boston maybe in the first period, perhaps, getting Tampa off the road here. But I don't even know if I love that. It's kind of a contradictory side for me here for this reason. I kind of want to go against Tampa Bay off that road trip, especially early. But I don't know if I want Boston early after the kind of heroic, emotional, physical, intense win in comeback fashion that they had last night against a team that they absolutely hate their guts, the Florida Panthers last night. It was a very taxing, very exhausting game. So this to me has stay the fuck away from a side written all over it, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's very, very difficult here as far as a side goes. I think it's a bet against spot for Boston, taking on a bet against spot for Tampa Bay. That's the way I see this game. To me, it's a 2-game card. There's no need to force anything. Maybe the draw. The draw is the only thing I'm interested in here potentially in this game. We could see overtime. Obviously, the Bruins went to OT last night they almost went to OT, I should say, last night against Florida. But it was a 1-goal game. They're capable of playing 1-goal games with a lot of good teams. Tampa Bay went to overtime each of the last 2 games of their West Coast road trip against LA and Anaheim. And then we've got the series history between these two teams with 2 of the 3 head-to-head meetings, Bruins versus Lightning this year, going past regulation. November 20th in Tampa, it was 5-4 Lightning in overtime. And then the last meeting in Boston, 3-2 Lightning in a shootout. So 2 of the last 3 meetings have gone past regulation. So the only thing I would look at here is the draw, as far as a side goes. Totals-wise, I like first period over. I like the over by Fecta because I think you got Tampa. First of all, Tampa offensively gets Braden Point back, and Victor Hedman is back for this game as well on the blue line, no doubt. And I think, you're going to see Tampa Bay be a better offensive team as a result of that. I think Bruins might be a little sloppy coming out of the gate. The only concern I have with the over bifecta here is you've got the superior goalies in net for this game. It's Vasilevsky for Tampa Bay, and it'll be Linus Ullmark, who, as we've talked about repeatedly with Boston games lately, he's been the better goalie over Jeremy Swayman. But I think right now, the first period over has been very, very strong, very, very strong in Tampa Bay games of late. I think the run is at something like 12-3 in the last 15 games to the first period over for Tampa Bay. Coming off that road trip, I could definitely see, us getting the 2 goals here in this game. Keep in mind with the full game over part of this bifecta, I took over 5.5 minus 130 at Bet99, the Ontario book. There's over 5.5 minus 134 at FanDuel as well. I did not take 6. You can take 6. It's minus 105. I opted to go with 5.5. Give me that, lay a little extra juice, a little extra price to get the 5.5 here with the total in this game. So that's the approach for me here. Draw, and we'll go over bifecta as well. Over 1.5, over 5.5 here with the Bruins and the Lightning. And as far as props for this game, I'm still going to come back to it. He won't be my bargain bin like last night, as he didn't score last night, but I'll come back to Justin Brazeau still, considering the price you're getting, which is still very, very rich, in that plus 700 range for him to score a goal, plus 650. They've actually lowered it a little bit, even though he didn't score a goal last night, but still going to come back to the well there. Zaka is worth a look. Geeky is worth a look. Danton Heinen's got value as well, as he stays on the second line for Boston. And then for Tampa Bay, Duclair, obviously. I mean, we've talked about Duclair so much. He's just a must-go-to prop player right now, whether it's goal prop, point prop. You can even try an over 1.5 points. He's plus 310 at FanDuel, so he's right above that bargain bin, threshold tonight, and I was not expecting that. But plus 310 for Anthony Duclair. The Duke has been terrific since joining the Lightning. Plus, this carries over from when he was playing very well in the last few games with San Jose before he got traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Braden Point's been absolutely ridiculously on fire. There's no denying that whatsoever. This is one of those games where with, Braden Point doing what he's doing, 15 points in the last 6 games. Kucherov by the way, a little quiet against Anaheim by his standards, but still with 29 points in the last 14 games for this Tampa Bay team. I do think Tampa Bay offensively could score some goals here tonight. Whether it's enough to win's another story. But right now, you've got guys that are way more. You got 3 players right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they all play on that dynamic, explosive top line that John Cooper has put together. Anthony Duclair, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov on that top line right now. Let me just read it out for you. Braden Point, 15 points in the last 6 games. So that's an average of what? That's an average of more than 2 points per game. Kucherov, 29 points in the last 14 games. That's an average of a little over 2 points per game. Duclair, 14 points in the last 9 games for him. That's more than a point per game player. You could do Braden Point over 1.5 points, Nikita Kucherov over 1.5 points, and Duclair to get 1 point in a same game parlay. And I think you've got a decent look there tonight. So again, that's Braden Point over 1.5 points, Nikita Kucherov over 1.5 points, and Anthony Duclair to get a point. You put that in the same game parlay, that's pretty damn good. And actually, you could sweeten the pot and maybe put Duclair in a smaller bet, same game parlay, over 1.5 points. You could go for him to get 2 points along with Point and with Kucherov. So you really could end up, going with a bunch of different looks here in this game. And you could even throw on suddenly a Steven Stamkos that's starting to heat up a little bit. I don't always trust Stamkos, though. That's the problem. Stamkos does a lot of his damage on the power play. And the one thing about Boston is they still do have a pretty good penalty kill. They've been a good penalty killing team over the years. So I don't know if I'd be worried about Steven Stamkos busting the same game parlay. You certainly are going to get an even better price if you include him, but I'd be a little bit worried personally about including him. So I think when you look at this game, I'd focus in more on those 3 guys playing on the top line for Tampa, Point, Kucherov, and Duclair. And again, I'm going to run that through the old calculator right now, and we'll see what the price would be for that. But here we go. We're going to go with Kucherov over 1.5, Braden Point over 1.5, Duclair to get 1 point. That's plus 700. You'd switch it to Duclair to get over 1.5 points. It's 20-1. So Point over 1.5 points, Kucherov over 1.5 points, and Duclair to get 1 point, plus 700. And then you just change it to Duclair over 1.5 points, along with Point and Kucherov over 1.5 points, and it's plus 2,000, 20-1. So that's those are worth a small sprinkle, in my opinion. I will be dabbling in that. And then if you really want to get wild, you could go Kucherov over 1.5 points, Braden Point over 1.5 points, Stamkos Point, Duclair Point plus 800. That's not bad too. So that's Kucherov over 1.5 points, Braden Point over 1.5 points, Stamkos to get a point, Duclair to get a point plus 800. How about if you put Stamkos, Duclair, Point, and Kucherov all to get over 1.5 points? That one is 40-1 plus 4,000. That's getting a little bit. That's asking a lot, I think, once you get to that point. But 40-1 for Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, Duclair to get 2 or more points. So that's the fun thing about same game parlays, and this is what we're going to be doing a lot on this show once we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. We are really going to be playing around here with same game parlays and putting some great combinations together. We're going to be like those crazy ass scientists, adding and subtracting to get the right formula. We're going to be like those crazy ass Gordon Ramsay and the crazy chefs out there, adding and subtracting ingredients just to create the perfect recipe. That's what we'll be doing with the same game parlay discussions that we're going to have for every single NHL Stanley Cup playoff game during the playoffs. So we're definitely looking forward to that. I can't wait for that. I'm going to have an SGP recommendation on every game during the Stanley Cup playoffs. That was the news I announced yesterday or a couple of days ago on the show. We're going to be doing I'm going to give you an SGP. I'm going to have an SGP bet on every I might have multiple on every game, but at least I will have one recommendation of a same game parlay for every playoff game starting April 20th. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, great stuff. That is the Wednesday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. 236 live viewers. Again, thanks to everyone that either joined us on the stream or tuned in live for the Betcast last night. It was awesome. And a reminder, make sure you are subscribed to patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Again, goalie charts, totals charts, bonus content, our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted on the page each and every day. Every bet, basically, from Alex, me, and are posted on the page each and every day. Again, it's a valuable thing to have, especially for those that can't watch the show live. Again, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month, and we will have multiple exclusive live betcasts on Patreon in April. So we are looking forward to that. So again, if you want to be part of those special Patreon exclusive Ice Guys live betcasts, then you have to sign up at patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Yeah, Cole, we're talking about the website right now. Patreon.com/iceguys. It's only $10 per month. American, that is, USD. $10 per month. And again, you get sides, totals, player props posted each and every day, bonus content, Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up. And also, I should point out our Player Suite interview series. We got a lot of positive feedback from that last year. We interviewed current and former players, more so just general hockey discussion, a little bit of betting, but more so just general hockey chat with current and former players. We're bringing that back this offseason so that we can give our Patreon members a reason to stick around during the offseason. Don't cancel your subscription, especially if you're going to come back in October. Anyway, when the new season begins, stick around. We're going to have the Players Suite interview series all summer long on the Patreon page for our Patreon members. So again, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. We'll also probably, Alex and I, throughout the off season in the summer, do some bonus videos, Q&A, theme videos, that kind of stuff. I might do another broadcaster rankings video, update it for this past season. So we'll have lots of bonus content during the off season, even when the Daily Show shuts down for the summer. So again, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Your subscription cost goes a long way to keeping this show going long term. Patreon.com/iceguys. Sign up now, just $10 per month. And again, make sure you check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch each and every day available at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night, and we've got bargain bin special of the night and best bets to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from our great daily sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, it is time for bargain bin special of the night. And sometimes what I do with this segment is I try to get a little too cute. And I just say, you know what? Instead of going with the obvious, the strongest positive expectation bet, I always try to come up with something for variety, something different, something a little unique, something you haven't heard before. Well, to hell with all of that. We're going with the obvious because it's worthy of bargain bin based on the price that you're getting right now at FanDuel. Anthony Duclair, Tampa Bay Lightning, someone we have been on before for the bargain bin special of the night. The fact that FanDuel is offering plus 310 right now with Anthony Duclair to score a goal tonight is outrageous. And it's to me, it simply has to be my bargain bin special of the night at that price. Anthony Duclair, Tampa Bay Lightning, plus 310 at FanDuel. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday slate. Best bet for this Wednesday slate, when I go and look at it, I'm going to go with that Ottawa-Buffalo over. I think it's good. Look, we've got 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone over the total between these two teams. Both of the last 2 meetings in Buffalo have gone over 6.5 goals as well. Ottawa has scored 5 goals in back-to-back games against the Devils and the Oilers. Their offense is heating up. I think they score here tonight against a Buffalo team coming off the road. Could be a little sloppy defensively in front of Luukkonen. But on the flip side, Korpisalo this year, he hasn't played great. Buffalo offensively, now they get Jack Quinn back, makes them a better, more dangerous offensive team. So I think we can get over 6.5. Series history says it has been a higher scoring series. Let's rock with that. Ottawa, Buffalo, over 6.5 for my best bet for this Wednesday NHL card. By the way, Alex B. Smith, his best bet is the draw with the Bruins and the Lightning, which you can get at around plus 350. So Alex B. Smith's best bet is Bruins Lightning draw, plus 350 for this Wednesday slate. I'm going to see if he sent a bargain bin. I don't think he did. Yeah, no bargain bin today for Alex B. Smith. So he's on that. He's also on the first period over in that Bruins Lightning game, which I agree with as well. Great stuff. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys.